All right, welcome everyone tonight to our regular scheduled board meeting. First thing I'd like to do is see if anyone would like to address the board tonight. Please come forward.
Two things with that, Dave. One,
Okay.
just we have our regular open forum, and then if Susie's going to address, okay, then
Yep.
when she's done, then we've got the public hearing for the tax abatement as well.
There it is. Okay. All right. Good. Please state your name and your address.
My name is Susie Peterson.
Thank you. Would there be anyone else that would like? Anyone else that would like to address the board of the open forum? Okay, if not, then we will move on to our public hearing for the tax abatement for new home construction. Is that Lori? Or is that Mike? Okay.
Yep, basically just any feedback from the public. It's a requirement of the abatement.
Okay. Does anyone have anything they'd like to speak about in regards to that? All right, if not, let's head into the fun part, celebrating our successes. And I believe Afton and Mark, yeah, there you go, Mark. And why don't you guys come forward? Maybe get a little better pictures. We'll slide out of the way and use my mic up here.
Okay. Friends, join me. So Afton's covering a baseball game because she had cover for someone that stepped aside. So I'm going to try to work her magic with our friends here. So you've probably seen these students either in arts, athletics, academic stuff. They're top-notch students here at Albert Lea, all four of them. Two of them will be moving on to college, and I'll let them talk about where they're going to college and what they did to get recognized for this award, and then we'll wait for our two juniors to talk about them second. So there is an award called the AAA Award by the State High School League. Students are nominated locally, and then their areas are arts, athletics, and academics, and they have to qualify for all three. So our two winners this year, you have to be a senior to qualify, are Jens Lang and Sydney Dorn, and I'll let Jens talk first. Tell us what you did in each of those categories, arts, academics, and athletics, and then tell us about where you're going next year. And I'll give you your plaque. So you have the mic, sir.
So I'm Jens. In athletics, I ran on the cross country and track teams and captained both of those. In the arts, I'm involved in orchestra, choir, and band, as well as some extracurricular activities, like the musical, jazz band, chamber orchestra. And academically,
AP, SAS, all
yeah,
that stuff.
yeah, I took a lot of college courses. Have a 4.0 GPA.
And where are you heading next?
And yeah, next year I'll be going to St. Olaf College. I'm not entirely sure what I'm going to major in, but I'll still be involved in both music and athletics there, so I'm looking forward to that.
And then our female AAA award winner, Sydney Dorn.
Hi, I'm Sydney. For athletics, I was on the dance team and soccer, and I captained both of those. And then for academics, I was in a lot of the same classes as Jens, a lot of CIS AP classes. Also graduated with a 4.0 GPA. For the arts, I was heavily involved in music. So I was in show choir, chorale, caroliers. I was in the fall musical. And yeah, I was mainly just in choir. Next year, I will be attending the University of Minnesota in the Twin Cities to study business at the Carlson School of Management. So yeah.
Then we have two juniors. Their recognition is for Excel, which is excellence in the community, education, and leadership. Both of them are juniors. One of them sits on the school board as student representative. Both are very active in our school, excellent representatives of what we want for our students. And, the first one we'll present is Dane Brownlow. And Dane, you can say whatever you want up front here.
That's a lot of power. I'm Dane Brownlow. I've been pretty active with the task force and getting the referendum passed, so that was pretty fun. Yeah, that's about it.
Other things you do at school?
I'm in football and track. I'm in a lot of college in the school classes, AP classes. Yep.
And then Gigi Otten, both Dane and Gigi were nominated locally, and then Gigi was at the state level awards. So here's Gigi, and she gets more chance at the mic.
Thank you. Well, I do a lot of stuff in the community. I am a part of our 4-H club, and I'm the vice president and the community pride officer there. And then I'm also in a whole bunch of clubs and activities in the school, so like humanities club, French club, Spanish club, student council, stuff like that. And then soccer and track and mock trial, which is all really fun. Get to do stuff. And then band, orchestra, and choir. I like the music too. So, thank you.
So just a quick representation of the excellent students we have in our school. And to the two seniors, we wish them well on their ventures after high school, and they'll do well. And then I have the ability to see these two on my side here next year again, so that'll be good. So thank you all for everything you did.
you know, a guy starts to feel old when you go, I think I saw them in church during baptism, maybe coached them, maybe hung out at their parents' house or something. It's nice to know all four of you. Seniors, I wish you well. Sydney, I didn't know you were a senior already until I saw you in church going. And Dane, baby, you are a senior, so you better be good. You know, I'll tell you that again when I see you. So, and Jens and Gigi, it's nice to have you up here, but thank you for all you guys do. And it is a great representation. I remember seeing that award years ago thinking, look what they're all doing. I mean, when I was a college coach, we always liked to recruit what we called those plus people, the people that did good in school. Of course, they're doing good in athletics or we wouldn't have talked to you, but they did something special and something extra, and that made that full-rounded person. So thank you very much to everybody. Congratulations. Okay, today's agenda, we need looking for approval.
You guys don't want to hang out and, you know.
Gee.
Oh, God. Oh, Steve's back there.
Steve
Okay,
will.
good.
Any motions? Motion to approve. Okay, motion to approve. And second by Jill. Any discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And opposed, the same. Okay, motion carries. Okay, consent items. Looking for a motion, just need one motion on those, or is there any discussion on that first I should ask for?
Motion to approve.
Mark, motion to approve. Second. Neil seconds the motion. Now probably ask for discussion. Anyone?
Only a compliment.
Okay.
I have much of this involves staff that has been hired, and many of them are sponsored by boosters clubs. And I would just like to take an opportunity to push the button to acknowledge the importance of booster clubs of all variety that support our programs. We couldn't operate without them, or I suppose we could, but not as well. And that's a very important collaboration that we have with the parents and the public. So thank you, Boosters Clubs.
Any other comments? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. And those opposed, the same. Okay, motion carries. Okay, reports. Dr. Funk.
I'm going to talk about the legislature's what we know as of today. These bills were all passed over the weekend, or maybe, most of them over the weekend. And I don't think any of them, the pension bill's been signed, I think, or is going to be signed. Other than that, the others are all up in the air. So a couple budget bills went in front of the governor. And you could see that for school safety, they want to give us another $18 per pupil for fiscal year 19 only. So you figure 18 times, 3,500 students approximately. So we are looking at, do the math, but a few $1,000s more for the school district for school safety. And then we're going to get to $5.50 per pupil in 2020 if the governor approves it. The other thing on there that would impact us is we are part of a cooperative with a special ed cooperative, so that will receive $7.50 per pupil. And then the other thing that will provide us, not right away, but after 19, is the long-term facilities revenue. We will be able to tap into that for school safety improvements if we need to. Now, again, these are all pending governor's signature, and it looks like he's going to veto some of these, if not all of them. Go ahead, slide, Ashley. Policy updates. They're going to have a special ed working group. There's a new summative rating system. I have a meeting on Thursday I'm going to go to, which I'm going to hopefully find out more information on that, but basically how we're going to score school districts throughout the state. There's been changes on how we utilize school discipline. There's been, I don't know how it shook out, but there was some discussion on expelling students and whether you have to go through progressive measures or not while you're doing it. It appears there's a new civics graduation requirement, and then lead testing will be required. I'm not sure, there were two versions that were moving forward. Not sure where that's at, but we will have to, as a school board, we're going to have a lead testing policy that will have to be on the books sometime this summer. So, and MSBA has a model one that they're working on with that. Okay. The second, this is the tax bill, kind of tied into the budget. This is the one we're having to align the Minnesota code to the new federal code. And within that, they've also adding another $50 million in additional per pupil aid for school safety. They're taking it out of the state reserve. They're saying we no longer have to have a 2% set aside, at least for the fiscal year 19. So if districts need to tap into dollars that they would normally use for staff development, they're no longer required to have that set aside by law. And then they're also allowing school districts to dip into community service, which is community education, if there's a significant fund balance and the district has a need for it upon approval of the commissioner. So really what they're doing is they are providing the district more flexibility to dip into different buckets within the district if they need to. That's their solution. The governor's solution was, to provide another $130 million towards school districts. So, and that's why I think he's going to veto it, because he really didn't address that with him. The good news is, this is very rare in politics, but the pension bill, I think, passed unanimously through both houses, which is pretty much unheard of in today's world. And so what does that mean for our district? Over the next 6 years, our contribution is going to increase from 7.5% to 8.75%. And they're telling us that there's going to be a state funding to go along with that, which is good. The employee contribution will also increase over that 6-year period from 7.5 to 7.75. They're reducing the cost of living adjustment for 5 years for people within TRA. So they're only going to get a 1% increase, and then they're going to increase it annually until it gets back to 1.5. And then for their investment funds, they are assuming a rate of return of 7.5 instead of 8.5, which means we need more money in the fund if we're assuming we're not going to get as much money in our investments. So that's a quick overview of where things are at. Did he sign the pension bill, Lori? I think he will. I don't know if he has yet. Okay. But other ones are really all up in the air, and I don't know if we're going to end up with another special session or not, or they're just going to leave it as is. Have you heard anything different? So questions on any of that?
That 1.25, then you said there might be funding available for some or all of that, of our 1.25, is that right?
That's what they're telling us. They will probably put a line item set aside within the budget, but the problem with that is you have to approve it every 2 years. So.
And I would assume the problem with that would come significantly after the fact.
It may.
Different than what they talked about at the school board convention. I wasn't seeing the 1.25, but maybe they just hadn't mentioned that yet. They didn't have a number there, did they, Lori?
And that percentage increase is regarding TRA, because PERA did not have an increase.
They didn't do it, okay.
TRA just was, they had adjustments on other types of things like the COLA and some other eligibility adjustments for the pension for retirees. So ours was much less of a financial obligation from the state for PERA.
I remember right, didn't PER drop their 8.5 to 7 or 7.5% a year or two ago to try to help out?
Yes, we did align that to align more with what was actually happening with our investment returns.
Any other thoughts or questions? The lead-based policy, I'm sure that's obviously going to be testing But is that any idea on expenses on that at this point?
Well, you go ahead.
I did visit with Steve Anderson about this, and, we do test already for lead, but this new requirement, as I understand it, expands it greatly, where right now we test a drinking fountain, and now we'll have to be testing any water source, like for washing your hands as well, for example, from a sink. So the testing will be much expanded of what we'll need to do.
So one of the current concerns coming out of the legislature, depending on which route they took, and I'm not sure which route they took, this bottle of water would not pass the new testing threshold requirements. So that's a concern, especially when we're getting water, from the city. And so what's the expense of that going to be to meet the required threshold? So, and again, there were different approaches to it, but that was what I think the Department of Health was recommending, the more stringent approach.
Okay, school board reports. I don't know, we'll start by Neil. We'll give you the first mic, buddy.
I don't think I have a report, unless I don't remember what I included in the last one. I do know that not too long ago I went to the spring play, which was excellent. It was so good that somebody like me who is legally deaf could actually pick up what was going on about a third of the way through, and was on the edge of my seat trying to solve the mystery.
Family Services Collaborative has a new facilitator. It's Jenny Hendrickson. She was in Fountain Centers for years, and so she'll be a nice addition to that collaborative. And she'll be starting next week. So the meeting for this month has been postponed till next week for when Jenny's on board. And I attended graduations. I know, Neil, you also did that. You missed that one. But high school graduations, we had a wonderful speaker this year in Neil. And the ALC graduation is always a wonderful time. And then I also attended the adult basic education graduation, and that was really a special time. It was in room 109 here, and the room was just packed, and it was so full of culture and such a mix of culture, and it was just vibrant, and it was just such a sense of community there. It was a wonderful experience, and to have that sense of community kind of expand into the greater community would be a wonderful thing. But there were GED graduates. There were 2 there. There were individuals who had gained citizenship. There were 4 that were there, but there were more than the 4. There were English language learners and lifetime learners, and many of them expressed that they really appreciated the free childcare and free transportation. Otherwise, they wouldn't have been able to access this wonderful opportunity that we have here in the United States. So, thank you.
Thank you. And Neil, I forgot, yeah, you did a great job. Socrates would have been proud. Apple Valley, wouldn't you imagine?
I, too, attended the ALC commencement and our high school commencement. And also, my son graduated from Halverson, so the 5th grade commencement at Halverson, and I'm sure that all the other elementary schools had their 5th grade commencements as well. So I just want to say congratulations to all the graduates and including those that had commencement through the GEDs and stuff, and then also our 5th graders.
And just also to Neil, well-chosen words, very well done. And then I thought at the ALC graduation, Tanya's remarks, you could just tell the kids love her, and she loves them back, and I thought that was really special.
Graduation is always the most fun time, and again, watching the ALC just in the last 3 years that I've been here is watching the numbers go up. Got to be doing something right, like you said, Tanya being there, and now with our new, it's fun to watch, because the kids do have their opportunity to get their degree in the way that works best for them. So just a couple things other than the graduations. was part of the Austin Albert Lee Special Ed Co-op Board, and just reporting again that financially we're doing very well, and it's been a good savings to the district, and I think it's an excellent opportunity for the kids to learn over there in that environment. Very happy that we did that. I was skeptical at first, but now I can see not only financially was it the right, but it was the right decision for the kids. Also, then I'm part of the MESBATE board, which was an elected position, which I got elected after Bill Leland resigned when he left the board, and it's kind of a cool board. We actually manage over $53 million in money, so if you know me, it's fun to sit on something like that and go, how's this working and all that. And then we also administer the insurance claims, and we have every school in the state of Minnesota, other than I think there's 3 or 4 of the charter schools that aren't members. Otherwise, everyone's a member. So had a meeting up in Chanhassen for that, and it's always a fun when we do that quarterly. So, all right. And I'm not going to forget students this time. I did last time up here. So, Gigi, anything special?
Well, not much left to say. We have summer now, of course. We still have the spring sports are going on, at least track is. So track has sections on June 1st. What's going on? Everyone's graduated. It's fun to see everyone going on and choosing what they can do. So it's cool.
Are you having fun being a senior already?
Yes, very much.
Dara.
I am pleased to be here tonight, and I have a few things on behalf of the ALEA. First, we awarded 2 $750 scholarships to Kylie Brown and Greta Hagen, and those are funded from proceeds from the Gobble Wobble. I have a message from the staff at Southwest, and they just wanted to thank the community for their support for the Tiger Trot, and during the advisory time, they had a rescheduled Tiger Trot in the gym. Each group of students participated by, it says, running, skipping, jogging, walking, and there was even some leapfrog action for 15 minutes. And each advisory teacher recorded student laps, and the winning advisories were announced at the end of the year celebration of awesomeness. So they said they're crossing their fingers next year for the lucky 13th Tiger Trot. And then I'm on staff at Halverson, and I just have a few things to share from our staff to you. We had a barbecue for the first time last Wednesday, and we served over 550 students and families, and it was a beautiful day to picnic outside with our students and their families. It was just a wonderful opportunity to visit together and have fun. We had a field day for our whole school on Friday. We had kindergarten through 2nd grade in the morning and 3rd through 5th grade, and classes were split in 2 and teamed against each other, and tug of war and parachute and just all kinds of fun activities. And the staff at Halverson this summer is excited to be the first elementary school to work on standards-based curriculum math library, and we're going to be working on differentiated activities for students to practice math skills based on the standards. So we're going to be doing that this summer. So that's what I have to share. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for Dara or Gigi? Okay. All right. Curriculum and instruction. Anything there? Nothing. Safe and healthy schools. Okay. All right. Let's get into effective and efficient operations. And Doyle, you're up for Chartwell.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Katie Bizzett. I support Doyle and the team here, and we're just bringing you a food service update for kind of the program in review. So we've got some stats for you. That the year 2010 was the last year that you were self-operated. 2018, these numbers are estimated pretty closely. If you'll remember, when we've had the conversation about breakfast in the classroom are in our second full year of that. That's why those numbers are significantly different. And then for lunch, it doesn't look so good, but you need to take into account the weather impact that we had this year. We had 9 late starts, which significantly impacts our breakfast numbers. 4 days of, I think, non-service, tying to weather impacts.
4 snow days.
And then there were 2 days where we now have no elementary service because they have conference days instead. So if you take that into account, then the numbers are, the numbers are really quite in line with the enrollment that you had at the time. And the other thing you'll note is that the 2018 numbers, while down a little bit year on year, you can see there's still a fair amount more approved for free and taking advantage of that, which means more dollars for the district. This is a percentage, we talked about this last year. Dave asked about this. These are the numbers of the amount of students that are eating breakfast and lunch free and reduced that are approved. So this is, and our numbers increased a little bit. We've definitely tried to make that a focus, make sure that the students realize that, our reduced students understand that they get both those services free, both breakfast and lunch. And so we saw a little bit of an uptick in both the reduced participation and the free participation at both lunch and breakfast, so we were pleased to see that. Yearly volume allowance savings. Now, one of the benefits of your cost reimbursable contract that you get is you get the buying power of Chartwells. This year, probably will end up about spending just under $800,000, about $795,000 in food for the year for the program. That includes summer. And you can see your volume allowance, we're estimating at probably about $150,000. That might be a little shy, might be a little bit more than that. Now, this is kind of the last few years, what the return has been to the food service account. And there's also, Lori may want to speak to this a little bit more, but you can see that there's some severance numbers and there's some years where we had a fair amount of equipment. We've got the first several years of Chartwells and a couple of years where you're self-operated.
Kind of some key points or takeaways from this chart just shows that our profit level with Chartwells, if you look at the most recent audited year, is at a higher level than we were operating ourselves. And one thing that bites into our profit are decisions we might make on purchasing equipment that, we're choosing to use some of our profits to enhance the program. And then also when we have severance payouts for those employees of ISD 241 that are entitled to a severance package. There are some years that we had some larger payouts for severance, and so just wanted to add that in, because that does then bite into the profit on that particular year. So it just shows kind of the historical trend, and then the bottom line point there is that we actually are having a higher level of profit now that we're with Chartwells than when we were self-operated.
Some of the 17-18 year program highlights, we continued support and worked on the organics program at the sites. There were food tasting tables. We do the orchard table, very popular every October. And then you did a couple of this spring, right, Doyle?
Mm-hmm. Christy Schaefer is, she went to school at Albert Lee, graduated at Albert Lee. She had worked for the food service department for like 4 years. And we decided if we wanted to grow our program more, I needed help. So we put in a program assistant, and I think I had 4 or 5 apply for it. And we picked Christy. And she's already done a really nice job getting out. She's taken pictures. She's done tastings in all the elementaries. She was responsible. That last slide was that was Halverson's picnic this year. That one right there. Yeah. And she's helped with all the picnics. She's also going to be in charge of training and safety. So we're going to work with Steve Anderson on the safety part of it, and she's actually going to go out into the buildings and do trainings because it's a lot more economical for the school district for her to do a 15 or 20-minute training at the building than it is to bring them all together, and it ended up costing me $400 or $500, you know, for an hour-long meeting to have everybody coming in. So she's gonna be out in the buildings. We're also gonna do some nutrition education in some of the classes. So any teacher that would allow us to come into the classroom, we're gonna come in and speak with the students, and she's gonna also head this up. Makes it kind of nice for me because she organizes it all. I can show up and, you know, because I've got a ton of other things to do. But it's really nice, and she's really organized and
Very passionate about it.
yeah, it's going to help the program a lot.
And then we've continued with the labor transition. You know, you probably saw the severance numbers up there, so we've continued with that. We're having 3 people retire this year. And we're looking at, we'll probably have several positions open, and, you know, they'll all be Chartwells. And so then, of course, not all of them? Okay, so a couple.
Well, they could be.
It depends once we get through the posting process, I guess. So, so we continue to have some continued labor transition, some cost savings there. And, of course, we do the team training like Doyle talked about, of course. Prior to Christy coming on board, you know, we were doing the regular trainings, plus offering a mid-year training with the team. So did some new entree selections this year. The USD requirements are approximately the same. One of the things that they did offer was if school districts felt they had hardship doing a whole grain waiver, but this being kind of a blue zone project area, and the students, we had high acceptability for the whole grains. They've done a really nice job with it. We've taste tested the pizza with them, things like that, so we decided not to do the whole grain waiver. And that's gone really fine. The kids have really, like I said, initially the first couple of years of whole grain products, the formulations weren't the best, but that's just continued to improve. So I think they do a good job.
And one of the reasons why, when we spoke with Lori to not do it, is because it was only for 1 year. So if we went all to white and got them used, I mean, it's taken us years to get them used to the whole grain everything. And to take it away from them, and then all of a sudden, oh, whoop, the rules changed again. You have to go back to whole grain again, and it wasn't. We decided that it really wasn't worth it.
And then we had a administrative review this year from the state. That happens every 3 years. Most times they choose one site, one school. And for Albert Lee, I don't know if it's because we were off cycle, they missed us for a year, but they chose 2 sites. So Southwest Middle School and Sibley were both audited this year. And, you know, again, that's quite an undertaking. But the team did a really wonderful job. Doyle pulled inches and inches of, you know, paperwork and things that needed to be scanned. We worked a fair amount with Lori on, the information that needed to be submitted in advance. Our lead, Kathy Davis at Southwest, because of course Sibley comes out of Southwest, did a really nice job in preparation, and Jolene Svensson, who is the food service admin, did a phenomenal job. You know, they pulled hundreds of applications, and there were three or four applications.
4, and she corrected 2 on site, so she had 2. So she had a score of above 99%.
That's just unheard of. So, again, and then Christy Schaefer supported a little bit too, because that was the school where she had been the lead, and she was just transitioning to her new role. So she supported with that as well. So, and then of course you heard that Halverson had their picnic for the first time this year, Lakeview and Sibley. It's now an annual event. We've had it the last 2 years, and we're really hoping that Hawthorne will do it next year. And then I think you did a high school refresh, right, Doyle?
We did a high school refresh this year, and also at the end of the school year, we did after the celebration of awesomeness at the middle school, we had a big watermelon feed. So the principals came down, they helped the ladies in the kitchen down there, helped them cut it. We put it all on the big cart, they wheeled it outside and had a fun time that afternoon.
Yeah, Principal Double was pretty busy that day. So, and then, Chartwell's, the support that you get from Chartwell's, of course, I come on I would say a monthly basis, actually, because of the audit. You actually saw me more than monthly this year in preparation for that. And then our dietitian, we have a resident dietitian. She is based in Edina, but she came down for 3 separate times and supported Doyle and Kathy Davis in getting them ready for the audit. And that was a wonderful help. And of course, Edina just went through an audit this year. So we had, that was very advantageous for Albert Lee to be able to take access to that. So, and then we also have a director that's at a neighboring district. We call her Chef Sandy. She likes to come help, and she helps with those tasting tables, possibly on a non-day service. I think she's been here twice. And then Emily Lee also, who worked at Farmington and has now been promoted to a director, assisted with one of the tables. So we try to make sure that, they're accessing other people from other school districts. And then there's some of our team. We do this, I think this is our 3rd year now. Where we talk about inclusion and diversity with the team, and the ladies talk about what it is to them, and we just have conversation. It usually ends up kind of silly, especially at the middle school, I guess, but it's always a good positive reinforcement of us all reminding that everybody brings something to the table and to work. So, any questions?
Is there much need for gluten-free options, or what do you provide in that area?
I do. If a student needs a special diet, of course they have to go to well, this year it actually changed. They had to go to a medical doctor, and this year or this next school year coming up, it'll be a nurse practitioner. There's I think 2 or 3 pages of state paperwork. So they take that to the physician. The physician fills out their little form. This is the way it's supposed to work. I'm still working on this. We're getting better and better every year, though. And so they fill out the state paperwork, and then once I get all the paperwork, then I start the diet as soon as I can get the items. Dairy, and most of it's dairy-free, gluten-free. We have a couple other severe diets at Lakeview, and
Keto.
we provide Pediasure for them. And as long as the state says, as long as it doesn't put the food service into financial distress. So we have to do it. So if it's something really, really crazy that's going to cost us $10,000 or $15,000 a year, we could technically say no, but I've not denied anybody yet.
So all of that's just individually based. You have to meet each individual need rather than just providing an option or different
Correct.
options. Wow.
Yeah, because the gluten stuff is just blowing up in the last 3 or 4 years, and the manufacturers haven't really caught up to, in their warehouses, and it's just not a popular enough item for them to store. So somebody from my office every month has to go out to Walmart, and we get Pediasure, and we get gluten-free hamburger buns and gluten-free pizza buns and so forth. And that's just how we do it right now. I mean, we can get some items from Cisco, and
Pizza crust.
And we bring those in a case and then split them up to the buildings that need to be.
What about for vegan choices? Do you have to get a doctor's note to be a vegan?
No. I actually, for the first time, I had a student email me and ask for some more vegan choices, and I told him I'd be more than happy to try to work it in the menu to throw me back some ideas, and I never heard from him again. So I'll follow up with him.
So the gluten's a medical gluten, not by choice.
Correct.
Yeah, the paperwork, Mark, actually has that the physician or the nurse practitioner says items to omit, items to substitute, and then they ask what needs to be removed or adjusted for the students, and then we put together the meal plan based on that.
Now, if you brought parfaits tonight, I wouldn't have asked any questions. So next time, no. Just had one question when I was taking a look at the 2011-12, the profit numbers and all that. We started in 2010, Is there a large startup or setup fee? I mean, I noticed we spent 90,000 in equipment and we lost 87,000 is what I was taking. What was, I mean, obviously, that's why I was thinking maybe there's a big switch over.
I wasn't here.
That
yet.
wasn't you guys then?
That was
Okay.
not, that was, that would have been Mary.
That was, yeah, okay.
That was the year we bought the new software, the big the Meals Plus. Meals Plus upgrade, so it was technology and the software that was, and we also purchased new food service equipment for prep. So it was a variety of things. So when that was year one with Chartwells, Doyle wasn't here yet, so we still had our own food service director at that point, but
I think we put in a bar or something extra for
Yeah,
serving line
bar.
at
Mhm.
Southwest
I
as
mean-
part of it. That was part of that expense as well.
Yep. It was recommendations that Chartwells brought to us to improve our operations. And that's why we had the outlay, we were using profit and more, some prior year fund balance to purchase all that.
Okay. And finally, is there ever any way, and I'm sure it's not mandated at all, maybe someday it will, but to follow waste? You know, I mean, it's hard to say, I mean, I take a meal and I decide I don't feel well and I'm going to throw it away. It doesn't mean there's anything wrong with the food, but that's just the one thing that I, as a consumer, everyone, you know, thinks about this. And I don't imagine that's ever weighed or anything like that on your part, but is there
Actually,
anything?
We do have a program. I'm starting a new program next school year. It's called Waste Not. But it's not for front of the house, though. It's more for production side. You know, to keep the ladies in line a little bit closer to, you know, if you need 100 cheeseburgers and, you know, you had 102 left over, or you had 2 left over, then that's not a bad thing. If you have 20, that's bad. And this basically is a visual, and it does have it has a cost associated with it by pound. So they put it in this clear bucket, and then they weigh it, and then they take that weight times a fee set up by the Waste Not program, and then that can visually show them how much waste they have in their kitchens.
What we can work on. But I have seen in some school districts where, like maybe classes sometimes, you know, will do it as a class project. But, you know, I've never seen, Dave, anything that's like a long-term project that they've done front of the house that, you know, somebody's measuring on a very consistent basis. I usually see it like for a semester here or there. Again, the Waste Not does have kind of like a front of the house component. But you know, it's like I don't know how we would assign the labor to make sure that it's done accurately and consistently. I guess it's a great question.
Anything else? Anybody? Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you very much, everybody.
Okay, 11.2, renewal of the food service management contract with Chartwells. Lori is a presenter.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Superintendent Funk, would be renewal of the food service contract for 18-19. The original contract was for this current year, we're winding up 17-18. And so the regs allow us to extend that agreement for a couple of years. We do it year by year. So this would be renewing for the 18-19 upcoming school year. The adjustment on the price or the fee from Chartwells is the 1.9% increase, which is allowed. I should just mention the whole process and even the documentation is formatted by MDE through USDA, so it's very much a scripted process, and so that's what we're doing.
Any discussion? What is you said 1.9 is allowed. I take it there's a range in there. Is there for increases?
The format just shows a maximum at 1.9%.
Okay, we got a motion by Mark, move to approve the management contract with Chartwells for 18-19.
Second.
Second by Angie. Any more discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, the same sign. Carries. Okay, Lori, property tax abatement resolution, another action item.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Superintendent Funk, for your consideration is a resolution approving property tax abatement. This is a similar resolution that we've brought in the past on some other parcels. We have 3 parcels that's been brought to us that are qualifying. As in the other times we've had this resolution brought to the board, a similar situation here in that the guidelines are laid out in the resolution regarding a single-family dwelling, also the tax abatement would continue for 5 years as noted, etc. So I just want to point that out. And we had our hearing today early in the board meeting, so now this is the next legal step to approve these 3 particular parcels for property tax abatement.
Okay, Jill moves to approve the property tax abatement. Any seconds?
Second.
Second by Neil. Any discussion? All right, if not, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, the same sign. Carries 5-0. Okay, I would look for a motion to adjourn. Oh, before I do that, next meeting will be June 4th. It's a study session. And then the next business meeting will be Monday, June 18th at 5 p.m. here. Motion to adjourn? Okay. Angie makes motion. Neil second. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.